Hello everyone and welcome to Biblical Prepping. I am Judith Garten and this is the prepper portion. This recipe that we're going to mix up today is an easy one. It is a remake of a recipe I did a couple years ago. Cream of whatever soup mix. In my kitchen, this has replaced every cream of soup, canned soup that I used to buy from the grocery store. Only this time I'm making it. I am going to have all of the ingredients, including the powdered milk, which you see on the counter. Now, I'm making this today in a much smaller portion because, remember my waste not, want not? Yeah, that didn't happen the last time I made up such a large batch and we pushed it to the back of the refrigerator, kind of forgot that it existed, and I ended up tossing out over 1/3, probably closer to half of that batch. I was pretty frustrated about wasting that. I don't like to waste, and that was a big waste. Now, this recipe is not pantry stable, and I will mention that a couple times throughout. It must be kept in the refrigerator, and as such, it often gets pushed to the back like it did in ours. Out of sight, out of mind, right? So make sure that you keep an eye on it and you keep rotating. If you have seen the first video, you will already know that two of my favorite cookbooks happen to be the Make-A-Mix Cookery and More Make-A-Mix. The Make-A-Mix Cookery books were written by Corrine Eliason, Nevada Harward, and Madeline Westover. They can be found online at used bookstores at thriftbooks.com and abebooks.com. The average price is somewhere around $8 for them. I've not actually seen any used copies available recently, but you might be able to find those online. If someone is trying to charge you a large sum of money, like $30, $40 for that book, try and continue to look for a period of time until you can find a copy of the book. Now, as you can see, mine are very well loved, very well used. I've had to take them apart because the bindings broke, and I've slipped the pages into plastic covers. Both of these books were written in the 1980s, maybe early 90s. They are great books to have in your kitchen because they are great food storage recipe books to have on hand. I like them for a number of different things, for their spice recipes and especially for like this one. So what we have here is, since I'm making a smaller portion, we have a smaller jar. I'm using a wide mouth canning jar and I will be mixing the ingredients up in a bowl. This page here is my white sauce mix and I'm going to be using this bouillon right here. I've had a little trouble finding an organic bouillon in stock where I can get it either online or in the grocery stores at a sensible price. I understand organic is going to be more expensive, but it doesn't need to be that expensive. Now this one is the Knorr. It is the chicken flavored bouillon. It does have natural chicken stock in it. It has cornstarch in it, which is not my favorite as a thickener, but it does have that in there. And all of the other ingredients are natural, so I am going to be using this one until I can find a better option. Now, bouillon tends to be salty enough, so I don't add extra salt. If I were going to add extra salt, the pink Himalayan sea salt is what I would add because that's what we keep in our kitchen. But because the bouillon is salty enough or tends to be, I just go ahead and allow that to be the sodium that is in our mix. When I mix up the product as a liquid, as a soup base, I will sample it, taste test it a little bit and see, and if I need a little more salt, we can add that later. Now the next ingredient is actually powdered goat milk. Let me shake it up a little bit and get it moving so that it will be loose and fluffy when I go to measure it out, so it's more proper measurement. Now the Myenberg's goat milk, powdered goat milk, I really like this product. It is great to keep in your food storage. I love to use it for kefir, for making yogurt, things like that. It's not my standard powdered milk. It is a whole milk, and I do like that. But if I'm going to mix up powdered milk, I'm actually going to use the powdered cow's milk rather than the powdered goat's milk. I like the goat's milk for cooking and for, like I said, kefir and yogurt. I am actually rotating this. This is being used right now because it is approaching its expiration date, or best by date, I should say. And I want to make sure that I keep my food storage rotated, unlike that soup mix in the refrigerator a while back. So I'm going to be ordering some more of this in the next couple of months, and we'll be rotating that through the pantry. The next ingredient that we have, this is my Prairie Gold. and sprouted whole wheat flour mixture that I have in the freezer. A little bit didn't fit into my container, so I set this aside specifically to make this batch of soup mix. So I have that. It is, of course, manufacturer ground. It is not home ground. It is very fine. It is wonderful. It's light and fluffy. And I have here a butter olive oil spread. This we make ourselves at home. I'll be doing a video on that sometime in the future, and you'll be able to find that one online at some point in time on YouTube as well. And I like this because it is the combination. It is soft. It mixes in easily. And we have our glass bowl. We're going to get ready to whip this up and speed right through it. I will be using a wire whisk to mix in the butter. It evenly spreads it, but it also, before we add that ingredient, we'll mix all the powdered ingredients well and evenly distribute everything so that when we add the butter, it is all mixed up nicely and all the flavor spread throughout. And also a rubber spatula so that we can scrape out every drop of that butter olive oil mixture. Now that that butter is all mixed in, there's one last thing I like to do. I don't want to miss one single drop of soup mix, so I get a small fork and I make sure I scrape off the tines of the wire whisk and make sure that it is as clean as possible and all the ingredients are in the bowl. Next, we'll place a canning funnel inside the wide mouth jar and scoop that soup mix into the jar so that it is all packed away nicely. Then we will just simply put a lid on, label it, and put it in the refrigerator. And there it is, all finished, all packed up with the lid on it. With the larger jar, I had that one labeled with the recipe for making another batch and for a recipe for making up the creamy soup mix. So we are going to make sure that we put the label on this one as well, and that way I don't have to go searching for the recipe. See, if you look here on this jar, it has the card on it as well. And I will be putting this in the refrigerator later, and we will be able to use it as needed. All right, we have finished mixing together the powdered cream of soup mix and put it in our jar. And now I'm going to let you know what you can do with this. Here's a jar of dried asparagus. You miss cream of asparagus soup? Now you can make cream of asparagus soup. You're going to want to make sure that you rehydrate your dried asparagus with hot water and let it sit. How about dried mushrooms so that you can make some cream of mushroom soup? The mushrooms are great to also powder and add to the broth itself to give it that rich mushroom flavor. These are actually some button mushrooms that I dehydrated myself after chopping them. Would you like a creamy vegetable soup? Peas and carrots, along with some dried green beans, and maybe some potatoes added in as well. Another great one is cream of corn chowder. That is a great dish to have on a cold winter night. Another thing that I have been known to do in the past, I haven't done it in a while, is to take some cod and add it to the creamy soup mix after you've completely cooked it through. You want to make sure that you add in just some chunks of cod, allow them to cook through. It allows the fish flavor to permeate the creamy sauce, and you can have some mock clam chowder. It really does taste good. We've enjoyed it in the past with some fresh baked rolls. And you put potatoes in, so it's almost like your New England clam chowder. Is the cod like clams? No, actually it's better, because you're not getting the chewy texture of the boiled clams in your soup. So it would actually be more like a fish chowder, but it is really delicious. Now, as you can see here, I have all of these dried vegetables. These are in our pantry, as well as others, and you can make a creamy soup mix that will substitute for any of the cream of soups that you're used to buying in your grocery store. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. And make sure that you subscribe, turn on notifications, and that way you will know when the next video comes out, and you will be ready to rock and roll with all of our great prepper videos. These things are all pantry stable except your soup mix. Please remember your soup mix is not pantry stable, it is refrigerator stable. The time period, the best buy date would be about 6 months from the date that you first mix it up, but make sure that you check it before using it if it smells funny like that batch that I talked about in the beginning of the video. It contains butter and olive oil, and that will go rancid with the other ingredients on your shelf in your pantry. So please make sure that you use that up. Don't waste like I did the last time. And we hope you enjoyed the video. Blessings and shalom.